Well, welcome back to the third episode of the Soda League Esports podcast. I'm Lil Eve, and my co-host is B Vills. We both had pretty good weeks in week one. What do you think, B Vills?
I feel like our matchups didn't have really much of a chance, and I feel kind of bad, but we knew what was
Yeah,
going to happen. I'm just
yeah.
kidding. I'm
We'll
kidding.
talk about it later, but we are going to talk about is this a league of two halves of half the league is, semi decent and is half the league completely, beginner. So we'll talk about that. Um, But as far as news, before we move on to the real show, obviously I got a bunch of you guys' clips, so awesome. Thank you for that. I will be editing those later, at some point. The stats and all that, and it's taken me longer than I was expecting it to. I didn't, so the way the stats are going to work is I had to build out the framework of everything. So now I just got to plug in the numbers. So it'll be a lot quicker to do all that stuff, which will lead me to be able to make more graphics and make more videos and stuff like that. And just building out the framework for the stats took a lot longer than I was expecting, but we're all good now. More exciting news. It sounds like we are going to get that 16th team. So if you hadn't heard, Team Something Offensive is dropping out. But
Boo.
yeah, I know. But we do have a new team lined up to play. We're just figuring out the details there, whether or not they're going to be starting 0 and 2, or if they're going to, or if the other teams want to take their matchups that Something Offensive forfeited. So Something Offensive played twice last week against Wolfpack and I think against Fusro Drift. So I'm seeing if Wolfpack or Fusro Drift want the free win or if they want to play the game against this new team. And this new team is going to be called Annex Canada. So
I got a question regarding that team that dropped out. Are they going to be eligible to be subs, those players?
that's a good question. Yeah, I think so. I think they could sub if they want to. They did give enough notice that they're not going to be playing, that it's not super inconvenient, like it's not halfway through the season.
Hmm.
So they're not going to be like banned or anything like that. If they did this later, then yeah, I think I'd be a little bit more frustrated, but it's early enough where we can band-aid it.
And I know that we had a sub willing to play this past week.
Mhm.
How do sub stats work?
So substats are going to be put into the regular stat sheet, but they are not going to be put into the player ranking. So I am not, because there is points per game that do impact player ranking. So if a sub has a crazy game of 8 goals per game average, and they play 3 games, and then they don't play again, they're just always going to be number one on that leaderboard. So I'm not going to put them in the overall player ranking stats, but they will be on the actual player stats list, so they can check out how they did.
Would it
So
be
shout
crazy
out.
to have it? Would it be crazy to have an individual sub stats list? To see who's the
Well, the
best
nice thing
sub.
is if we get like maybe one more sub game played, I can do so instead of wins above average, I can replace it to wins above sub average. So like then I can take the average stats of a sub. I can do average wins above a sub. So if how much better are you than a sub? And
Yeah.
that's what the number will figure out down the line. But yeah, enough of the stats and all that. Let's jump into the week one matchups. Game one, if you score, I love you versus midfield crisis.
Well, I would guess the standout would have to be ongoing boy, but to be honest, both teams, the players ranked similar to each other. They complemented each other. So, like for example, midfield crisis, both their players are basically the same rank coming out
Mhm.
of the game, and same with I score I love you. So obviously, the team with the higher score, which was I score I love you, would
Yeah. Even
win.
though I score, I love you, beat them 3-0. I would say this was the closest 3-0 game of the closest sweep, right? Would you agree? Like just from a pure stats line, I feel like
Yes.
Midfield Crisis could have won at any of those 3 games. So
What were the actual scores, if you don't mind?
4-1, or sorry, 4-3, excuse me. It was four
Mhm.
three, 3-2, and 6-2. So the third game kind of got away from Midfield Crisis. but games one and two literally could have gone either way.
A couple more goals and they could have come out with that win.
Exactly, exactly. So I know for a fact Ost's Krim has been grinding, trying to get his team above that playoff line. So we'll see how that goes. Let's cover both of, or let's just go to Zeman, the Seaman Demons versus Animal Crossed Up. The Seaman Demons beat Animal Crossed Up 3-1. So Animal Crossed Up actually did
Ooh.
pull a game from them. We're going to be talking a lot about the standout in this one. We all know who the standout of this game is. It's Caccinator. 17 saves in this matchup. Insane, insane numbers. We do have a whole segment for him in the future. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, one player can do so much. Unfortunately, Caccinator's teammate was near the bottom of the scoring sheet.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. D-Luck.
if he can at least get to middle of the stats, I think they can easily win it all.
Yeah, they're going to be very, very
It's
dangerous with
all
D-Luck.
based, yeah, it's all based on his teammate. We
Hmm.
know Caccinator can do it all. Um, but yeah, it's just his teammate needs to bump up a little
Start
bit.
Flipadelphia versus team who will be first.
That's with
What are your
deluxe
thoughts?
sausage.
Deluxe Sausage. Yeah. Flipadelphia beat the team who will be first 3-0. And we actually
Mhm.
do have a really interesting interview coming up with Deluxe Sausage. We pre-recorded the interview, so it's going to be playing after this. So, yeah, I don't know what else we can say about Deluxe Sausage.
Well, we could
He,
talk about the team ranks.
that win did put them in fourth place, just based
Mhm.
on stats. So, I
And
Philadelphia is averaging out, an average of 1369 score per game, averaging 769 goals. But then the crazy thing is they're only allowing 0.67 goals against. So they're scoring and they're not letting goals in. What do you think?
mhm. Well, that's the key to everybody's success. You gotta have a solid defense, and defense in this game is pretty hard.
Hmm.
You gotta know where the ball is at all time, and I would say communication on defense is the most important thing to have. So if you don't have that communication, you gotta work on it.
Yes, sir. Now we're gonna go to your game.
Hmm.
Team What a Save versus Scooty Puff Seniors. The final there was 3-0 for you guys.
Um,
Who what do you were in the game, so I'll let you talk about it.
I just want to say the Scooty Puff seniors. I told Moose Funny Monkey to settle down a little bit, but he wanted to keep going. It was a good game. We just never let them really touch the ball. That was how we were able to win. We always got there first, and there was one point in the game when I was playing goalie, and then all of a sudden I hear Little Leaf out of nowhere talking in my ear, and it distracted me, and it let a goal go in.
Good, yeah, because I joined their Discord call because they scored on you right before that, and then they scored on you right again after that.
And I was like looking around, like there's like a ghost in here. It was
Yeah.
Little Leaf.
Yeah, it looks like Scooty Puff Seniors does have some offense, like to even just put some goals past you guys. Like they're not going to be like I think the disparity between you guys is pretty big, but like Scooty Puff Seniors versus a lot of those lower teams, I think will put up numbers because they are able to
Yes,
put the ball in the net.
I do see them making the playoffs.
The playoffs, wow. Wow. That's a
They'll be
bold take,
they'll be
but
near the end. They'll be near the end of the playoffs, but I think they could squeak on in.
awesome. So moving on to my game, Animal Farm versus the Michael Keatons. So this was actually my first time playing with Migrating Pig. We've never even talked before. And he was streaming, so I was kind of awkward and nervous the whole time. I was like, I don't know what to say. Like, I was just trying to talk to him, make some small talk, trying to get to know him a little bit during our game. And then it turns out that my mic wasn't working in his stream, so he just sounded like a crazy person on stream talking to himself. But yeah, we played good. Migrating Pig is better than me, so I think we're gonna have a pretty good shot of moving far in this thing. And then as far as the Michael Keatons, yeah, I think Chris on that team te did let me know that he used to play. So once he can get back to form of how he used to be, then I think there'll be another team that really can push for the playoffs once they get going a little bit. But they're starting
Mhm.
off 0-2, so we'll talk about them later. So that's going to be a hard a hard hill to climb.
Yep.
So week one, game six, Habs haters versus Fusro Drift, and the Fusro Drift beat them 3-0. Any standouts for you?
Was Fuso Drift a beginning team, like a beginner level team?
No, no. So I was in their pre-match lobby. I thought they were beginner for some reason based on their star level, but
Hmm.
Datsun said that I think she said she had like 80 hours in this game. So she had
Oh, shit.
played, and Stuwu, just statistically, I didn't hear how much he played, but he put up 10 goals. So
Yeah.
if if she put 80 hours in and she's able to put in five, if we do the math, Stu maybe put 160 hours in. So they'll be a team that I wouldn't take lightly. You can see them in the middle of the standings that, they didn't absolutely dominate the Habs haters, so like other teams can take them lightly. I
Hmm.
wouldn't, especially because P-Boy on the Habs haters, he's putting up score. He's really trying to carry his team across into that playoff line. They're 0-2 right now, unfortunately. But I know King Mike has really been trying to get better. So I think if King Mike can get better sooner than later, they're going to have a shot at making it. But if King Mike stays in the bottom three guys in the league, four guys in the league, they're going to have a hard time making the playoffs. So King Mike, if you hear it, keep working because um, you guys have a shot at making the playoffs if you can get going. Habs haters versus Americant. Ooh,
So American had your boy Noah and Hanzo Sword, and they made a little cameo inside the top leaderboards this week. I'm pretty sure. So
yep.
those that team is a team to look out for as well. The Habs hater, they just lost the game, so they're a little down from that. That might have played a factor into the game, but I'm pretty sure the Americans were rated higher
They
for
were the highest rated team.
highest rated team.
They
Okay,
were the highest rated. Yeah, and I mean they're undefeated. Now, did your boy
for
Noah
now.
not run up the score? He still got 10 goals, which I know that kind of still doesn't that puts him in like one, two, three, four, five.
It's tied for like seventh or sixth place.
You can see that and be like, okay, but did he let up a little bit? Possibly. I mean, 10 goals is still nothing to sniff at. Like he still
I,
put up
I,
10.
I did notice your updated sheet knocked me off the leaderboard. I just want to say I appreciate that.
Well, you actually are off the leaderboard. I just did it wrong.
Well,
Um,
I'm glad I
yeah,
had my moment.
yeah. So Americant, um, we're gonna get a better taste of Americant as they play more teams. So we'll see if they are the real deal. And
We play American next.
okay, that's going to give a really good sense of everything. Next is we want to eat your babies versus Wolfpack, and this was the craziest game of the week. It was Wolfpack was winning 2-0 and they fumbled it and lost 3-2 to we want to eat your babies. So
Ooh,
that
Kobe.
one went the distance. It went all the way to five. Adam seems to have put the team on his back. Gloop still pulled his weight. He did very good, but Adam, once they were down and out, rallied the boys up and said, "Let's win this thing because Kobe and Herker, they're taking this for granted. Let's let's show them that we're not going to bend over." What do you think when you see that? Are
Well, I
you
think
scared
it's
of we want to eat your babies a little bit now because of how they're able to, persevere?
perseverance is good. It's just I don't want to throw anybody or put anybody down, but I do know that it was Kobe's first time playing
But he's
Rocket
been
League.
practicing. He
He's
they're
been practicing,
silver.
and hey,
They're
look,
in silver
if
now.
you practice, you guys, you can bring teams to that fifth
Mhm.
game. They're able
Mhm.
to not without any experience, really. They're able to take a team all the way to five. So
Mhm.
if you keep on practicing, you can win.
I know, listen, Kobe, he's a new player to the game, but he's he as far as score, if you sort it by score, he's in one, two, three, two, three. He's in 10th in the league in score. So he, he can play. Score per
Yep.
game, he's a little bit lower, but still not that much lower. So he Kobe can play. He's I wouldn't just because he's new, I wouldn't take Wolfpack lightly. I think Wolfpack is able if they can just, close it out, they should be 1-0 right now. So I wouldn't take them lightly. And then
Mhm.
finally, the Seaman Demons versus Michael Keaton's. We've talked about both these teams already. We're going to be talking a lot more about. Caccinator. Before we do you just have any thoughts on the Michael Keatons and any words of encouragement for them?
I'm just keep on going. Like we're talking about, practice literally makes perfect. I would recommend playing some casual games so you can get a feel for yourself, and definitely work hard on that communication.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And now let's jump over to, it's actually fitting that this was the last game. Let's jump over to Caccinator. Um, talk about, sorry, I made it seem like he's coming on. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get him this week. But is he legit? That's what I wanted to talk to you about. He's got, so I'm just going to read over his stats and just how, and then the second place person, like how much ahead he is of everybody. It's insane. So he's played 7 games, so he has played more than everybody. He's played 2 matches. His score is 8,670, 8,670. The closest person to him has 2,998. He's got 43 goals. Closest person to him
Yep,
has 19. He's only
which
got
is
two
pretty much.
assists, so he's behind on the assists. He's got 23 saves. The closest person to him has 10. He's got 34 shots. Closest person to him has 25. So, the haters will say, yeah, but he's played 7 games. But if you do his score per game, he's still leading in score per game. He's in second place in goals per game. Assists per game, he was never the assist guy. And in saves per game, he's still miles ahead of everybody. So I don't know what you want to say about him as far as if he's legit because people are saying yeah, like he's played 7 games, but he's the real deal even if he's played more than everybody. His per game stats are insane too. What do you think? Is he real or did he play against weaker teams?
Well, I would like to see the scoreboards in week 3. I think we should give him a little more time to see if this is his true form or if it's just a nice week. You know,
Yeah.
some people have really nice weeks, but then drop off completely in all sports. So
Yep.
I think by week 3 we'll get a real determination of what Caccinator is.
I don't know. I think he's real. Like if if you're a new player and you're playing against nobody, you have a hard time putting the ball in 43 times. Like
Hmm.
that's a skill in itself, just being able to guide the ball into the net. So to do it against
Yeah.
whether they're bad or not, people trying to stop you 43 times, even if they're bad, is insane. Um, or I guess if we just do average 6.14 times per game per 5 minutes, like that's insane. Like so I do think he's legit. I asked if he's legit or if he played against weaker teams. I think the answer to that is yes, both of those. I think he did play against weaker teams and he's legit. So
Hmm.
but we'll have our answer, like you said, when he plays a real team. And this week they are playing Wolfpack, and Wolfpack did give their game a good run. So we'll see. We'll get a good taste of a better taste of what Zeman the Seaman Demons can do this week.
Hmm.
And the last thing I kind of wanted to go over before we wrap it up is you look at the scores 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 1-3-1, 1-3-2. Do you think this is a league of two halves of teams who can play versus teams who are brand new to the game? And is it going to be the top 4 or 5 teams are all extremely good and the bottom 4 or 5 teams are all extremely bad, and then really only interesting in that middle three? Or do you think there is a lot more parity than we think there is, and it'll even out as the season goes?
So what I think for this season, I think the top teams are going to stay the same. But those middle and bottom teams are going to continue to gain rank points and to continue to improve and improve where they can actually compete with those top teams. I think it's not a game of two halves. I think it's just a little bit of learning. And then by like maybe week 5, they'll be really competitive. Because I can't really see like the top teams improving playing against the weaker teams, but the weaker teams will definitely improve playing against the
Yeah.
good teams, seeing how they win.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I'd agree with what you said. I think on the one end, like you said, it is going to be hard to catch those top 3, 4 teams who really do separate themselves, but I don't think it's too late necessarily for those bottom teams who are getting smoked to get their act together because it is easier to get half decent at the game, it'll only take you a few weeks of practice. So if you really do
Mhm.
put the work in, you will be an average team in this league sooner than later. So
Yeah.
it just, I guess, depends how much everybody else is working. If they're in the gym before you, if they're in the lab before you, then they're going to be getting in more results. So I guess it's just about, do you have that mentality to beat them, I guess, right?
Are you Kobe Bryant?
I was going to say the Mamba mentality, but I didn't.
Are you Kobe Bryant or Lamar Odom?
All right, well, that's pretty much all I had. It's a lot more fun, these shows, when we actually have some numbers to look over, versus just guessing where everybody's going to do. Do you have anything else you wanted to go over before we cut to our interview to Deluxe Sausage?
Well, I actually had a question for the viewers and the players. What do you want us to talk about? Is there a question you guys want us to answer and look over?
It's a
If
good
if you do,
question.
just put it in the general section and we'll see.
Sweet, sweet. All right, well, if there's nothing else, we'll cut to our interview to Deluxe Sausage. And thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys over there. And it's been a long time coming. We've got, I'd say, one of the best players in the league. Is it Deluxe Sausage or SSG?
I probably prefer to go by deluxe sausage, but either one works. I know who you're talking about when you say it, so
All right, so it's Deluxe Sausage. And this is, we were kind of talking about this before. The meme was a big thing for you online, but this has got to be bigger coming on this show.
yeah, yeah. At this point in my life, it's got to be that meme is it's 10 and a half years old now, so I would say it's a little bit expired. It's like soiled milk at this point, but ironically, I just had it kind of going around Facebook. Actually, as of yesterday, I've been having some of my friends tagging me in it, just coming across it. So it periodically does its thing, and I just have to live through
It was too early to go on Ellen. Like that was before all that, and it was way too
Oh,
early to create a podcast about it, like Talk Tua or something like that. It was just bad timing.
I really didn't take advantage of it as much as I should have. As many like BuzzFeed clickbait BS that picture was involved in, I never saw any money come my way. Um, But yeah, it was definitely a good marketing opportunity that I didn't take advantage of at that time.
The
Um,
deluxe
so I
sausage
kind of have to
coin.
suffer through those. Yeah, yeah. I actually had people like trying to talk me into like being an NFT. I'm like, I don't know anything about these things. I don't know how to make this happen. And then by the time I even lightly considered it, all that phase is like kind of pushing off to the side anyways. So whatever.
I saw a thing that the Hawk Tua girl had like a whole crew 24 hours later or something like that, or 48 hours later, she had a whole management team. So she
crazy.
It's
she jumped on it.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
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 So you are not really leading in any category, but you are high enough in every single category that it puts you in the average ranking for first in the league. So obviously, you're consistent enough across the board where we don't need to wonder if this guy's legit and had a good week. He had kind of jumped around and scored, saved, passed, everything across the
Mhm.
board was great. So when did you first start playing Rocket League?
When did the game come out? Do you guys remember what year it was?
I wouldn't know. I didn't play till like last year.
I don't know, 2016.
Yeah, that's what I would ballpark it. Like it was like one of those things, like it was a game that I saw in the PlayStation store for a while, and I'm like, I don't know, seems kind of corny, seems a little gimmicky. I didn't play it right off the bat, but at some point Rocket League became like the free game of the month for PlayStation Plus members, and I believe it was Trevor, so my teammate that had tried it out at the time. He was like, "Hey, you got to check this out at least. It's pretty fun. It's pretty simple, straightforward, but it's like really addicting." So I did cave in at that point, gave it a shot. I just played just kind of sporadically over a handful of years, and then probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I took quite a long hiatus from the game. And then I recently had a a coworker get me back onto the game. Like 6 months ago, we played for a night, um, and then still didn't like continuously play from that point. But until I had known about this league and was pretty interested because like Rocket League's a lot of fun, regardless of how good or bad I am. I was interested in partaking in this. So really, it was just kind of like a couple days refresher before week one. But like really, I probably am running about the same skill level that I always had been. So it's kind of like riding a bicycle to me. But yeah, so on and off for a while.
Well, it's been working. Obviously, so far so good. Bryce, do you have a question?
Yeah. Did you expect to do this well in week one?
Yes and no. So
Mhm.
I mean, between Trevor and I, I'm probably the more aggressor of the two of us. So I figure between us, I'd probably have like I would probably be the leading like scorer opportunist of the two of us.
Mhm.
But I didn't really, so like I had listened to the previous podcast that you have done, and like, I knew that there was like lingering teams out there that are rated around what we were. So I rated myself a 4. I think Trevor was a 3. Um, so I knew there was like, a lot of teams kind of in that middle ground area. It wasn't until the pregame setup when I had asked I forget who had answered, but like, hey, what did you guys rate yourselves at? And they're like, oh, we're the 0 team. I'm like, oh. So from that point, I'm like, okay, I'll probably like this is gonna be the time where I'm just gonna like rack up points and like just be king for a week and then just kind of slowly falter down the leaderboard into the middle ground where I deserve to be. And I'm sure that's what's gonna happen, but it feels nice for a little bit to be in this position.
So I realized after the fact why you didn't understand that question. How do you keep guys when you're not grinding? I mean, that's another question, I guess. How do you keep your boys around when you're not grinding? But how do you how do you keep busy when you're not grinding?
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more
Because
sense.
obviously you're putting in the work.
Yeah, when I am not grinding on Rocket League, which is 99.9% of my life, um, well, I guess like another like video game, talk about the video game perspective. My niche is like simulation racing games. So if there's ever a free simulation racing game that this group can do, I will. Well, Trevor too. We will just absolutely run that. But we both have our own racing simulation set up, do iRacing and Gran Turismo and all these different things. So that's kind of my niche when it comes to video games. College football 25. I run my own league in there with about a dozen guys. So it's not as I don't even know like how do you know this many people to even form a league? Like I don't
We
even know
know.
that many people, and well, I guess it's a combination of several people that have kind of put this all together, but
I
like I
don't.
don't
I
even
just
know.
yeah, I know about half this league, and then the other half is pretty much from one of my friends who just invited everybody who knew.
That's impressive,
So
honestly. Like
yeah,
yeah, I know
and
like 10 people.
Insanity Milk basically just same thing, texted everyone he knew, and then I texted pretty much everybody I thought would be interested in this too. So like even if we haven't talked in a long time, I'm like, I remember this guy likes video games. I'll text you.
Yeah, that's awesome. It works out perfectly. Shout out to 2% milk.
What mechanic do you think you need to work on most to take that next step?
Uh, um, I mean, I feel like obvious answer for probably a lot of people in like kind of my middle ground is aerials. I don't necessarily like I feel like I'm probably a couple steps away from being able to execute those at a level that is anyway competent. I don't even know why I bother half the time. What I did struggle with, I noticed a few times in my matchup that I'd say one of these situations had to have led to a goal for the other team, but it's basically loose ball situations when ball pops like way, way up high in the air, and everybody's just kind of everybody who doesn't have consistent good aerials is just kind of waiting for that to come back down. And I am not the best at timing getting to that ball. Sometimes I'll be kind of far out watching it and I'm just like way too early and I just kind of run up underneath it and creates a 2-on-1 the other way.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I definitely had a few of those situations where we ended up getting burned by that of mistiming. So I think that's probably one of the main things I need to work on before I even like get into the higher proficiency kind of stuff.
Yeah, aerials are something that I don't know. I think that's the thing that once you get good at aerials, that's what puts you to that next level because I'm terrible at aerials. Bryce is probably the best out of aerials out of the three of us who play together, me, Bryce, and Funny Monkey.
I, I mean, Moose is coming up.
He's doing
He's
good.
starting to hit it.
Good. Yeah, so I think once you get good at those, that's when you really cross that line from like, casually good to actually good because I can't do them. I'm casually good at Rocket League, but I'm not actually good at Rocket League.
Yeah, that's
So
kind of how I feel. Like I feel like Trevor and I were doing some like casual matches 2-on-2 as practice. We were like probably winning at like 2/3 to 3/4 of the games, but they're all pretty competitive. So like it's kind of hard to judge the landscape of that just in a casual match because like
yeah,
everybody's like I don't think really anybody was capable of doing consistent aerials in that league either, or that
yeah.
kind of matchup in that league. But
Mhm.
Well,
yeah, so
even in this league, it's kind of hard to gauge still, even after 1 week where everybody's at, because like I pretty much only know like me and Bryce and Austin's skill. So it's like I can compare like who you played against, but your game means kind of nothing to me. I just know you beat them pretty bad. Like I don't know if that is I need to see somebody else that like Bryce has played play against you so then I can gauge how they did against Bryce so that
yeah,
so like
definitely.
kind of get a understanding of where everybody's at.
And I think it's just still very new. People are still getting used to everything.
Yeah.
But I think it'll even out after
Mhm.
by week three. It should even out.
Yeah.
What mechanic does Trevor need to work on?
Um, so this is one that he has kind of pointed out himself. There's actually one that he's pointed out and one additional one that I'll point out. He has pointed out that when we're on the defensive end, he is not good with playing the ball off of the wall, or like even specifically where that little curvature where the wall meets the floor and it can kind of do
Oh
like a
yeah.
45-degree ricochet. He said that himself, and yeah, it he has misplayed those. I mean, a little bit more than I have. Like I'm definitely not perfect at those either, but um, yeah. So that's in our casual matches or whatever. That's definitely been something that's maybe led to a couple opportunities for the other team. An additional one, I kind of laugh at this one. At face-offs, this happened once or twice in our matchup. Where you have your different like face-off positions. You have like the wings, which are like the attack positions on the face-off, and then you have like the two, I guess you call them defense, and then you have the goalie position. So there's
Mhm.
been situations where he was in the defensive position, but I was actually in the goalie position behind him, so he was technically supposed to be the attacker. And then he just assumed I was in the attacking position without looking, and then just takes off for a boost and just leaves me just defend the goal on a free shot from the other team. So I gotta make him aware of like, hey, like even if you're in the defense position, make sure I'm in the attacking wing position at the face-off, because
Mhm.
otherwise you
Yeah.
got to take the ball. But I don't think we lost a goal on either of those situations. But it kind of like, where are you going? Come back.
Something that might have bit you guys in a little
It
closer of a
could,
game.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Before we let you go, we have one more question. Who who would you attribute your success to? Like, who is your favorite coach?
man, I mean, I embody off of the power of Dan Campbell, coach of the Detroit Lions. So if any NFL fans out there Um, very well aware of his like blue collar grit culture kind of philosophy.
Mhm.
I believe that's kind of what Trevor and I need to like. We talk about like Detroit Lions that are basically like a failure of a franchise for decades and never have amounted to anything, and all of a sudden, a new coach comes in and just within a few years has turned them into a contender. So I feel like Trevor and I are probably one of those teams that's theoretically not going to amount to anything unless we get a little culture change in our organization. And I think, maybe somebody like that's exactly what we need to amount to a championship level program here. So,
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Uh, Thank you for coming on. Before we let you go, quick, who's the most famous person who's texted you after this week about seeing your stats?
um, it was, ironically, it was Scarlett Johansson, slid into my,
Hmm.
Instagram DMs, and then blocked me. I won't get into the details of why she blocked me, but
Did you fumble?
no.
No.
Did you
Don't worry
send her
about
your
it.
meme?
Okay,
Don't
I'll
worry
drop
about
it.
it.
I'll drop it.
Don't worry about
Won't
it.
pry. But that's really interesting. So she follows SLES. I figured I was
Yeah,
getting a
yeah.
lot of
Like with a fake account, like she's not gonna make that
yeah,
publicly
exactly,
known. Let's be
exactly.
honest.
All right, well,
Never gonna.
Scarlett, if you're listening, Cody's sorry, I'm sure for what he did. Or Deluxe
She
Sausage is sorry for what he did. But yeah, thank you again for coming on. I guess
Yeah.
we'll see you on the field sometime.
Yep. All right. Thanks for having me, guys. Love you.